It's exactly 11 o'clock, and welcome to a Wednesday midweek edition of the Mornings with Ed show on the all-new Voice of Laguna. A spectacular and beautiful day out. It is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful is how I would describe the Orange County coastline right now. Welcome across the nation, across the globe. Our conversation that I love having, we have it monthly. Professor Melissa Harris is a happiness and wellness facilitator. And I come to her for all questions, good and bad and ugly and pretty and everything that you could ask about the human psyche. And of course, you know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So the timing couldn't work out better. Welcome, Professor Harris. How are you?
I am smiling so big my cheeks hurt. Thanks for having me, Ed.
Thank you for being here. Good morning, Mark, as he walks by. Mark is another happy guy. I love seeing him. He makes my day every time he walks by. Again, monthly is not nearly enough for this listening audience. I mentioned that you were going to be here on Monday. I mentioned she's coming in on Wednesday, and probably 50 questions on the Text Connect from just that statement alone.
Oh, wow. I'm so humbled.
So it's
amazing.
Quite a popular segment, and thank you very much for taking part in it today.
Of course.
And we just went past Mother's Day.
Yes.
How was your Mother's Day?
You know, it was the best one I've had in a long time. Mother's Day is a hard day for a lot of people, myself included. So I think I'm extra sensitive to the people that want to be mothers or are not in the place where they want to be with that. And so it's a mixed holiday for me. It's not my favorite, but I loved celebrating my own mother because she's amazing.
Okay, and that's wonderful. That's right. So you had an opportunity to spend some time with your mom?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's very, very cool. I want to ask you about the dynamics of motherhood here shortly.
Okay.
I have, it's a mixed bag for me. At the same time as I miss my mom on Mother's Day, I find great joy in the fact that now I remember just really the great times. It's not really a matter of just missing her. It's a matter of on Mother's Day, I remember only the great times. I remember her laugh distinctively. I can remember and hear her laugh still. I can remember what she smells like still. And those are all great remembrances. And as well as utilizing that opportunity to thank and recognize my, and I call her for all intent and purposes of a better name, my ex-wife, who is my daughter's mother, for being an amazing mom. And I feel grateful about that. And I have a great sister who's a mom. And so I celebrate Mother's Day while still kind of being able to miss my mom.
That's beautiful. And what a wonderful way to give that day meaning.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm curious about the mother and child relationship. I want to start you off right there.
Okay.
Moms play obviously this incredible role in our lives. Did you the moments you spent with your mother, your kids, you're also a mother, your kids, did you craft the kind of day that they would also be spending time with you?
I think it's shifted a little bit.
Okay.
But, you know, we do get that basis for what our idea or our template for parenthood is. They come from our parents.
Right.
And my mom was amazing in so many ways growing up. I was a punk. I was a total awful child.
I can't see that. I can't imagine that.
I was the worst.
Yeah.
And so we're really close now, but there were some challenges there. We went through fire. Right. With my own kids, I've been really fortunate that they didn't put me through the ringer the same way that I put my parents through. And so the dynamics are different in that way just because we're all very different people. But I think that the intention of spending time and really loving and cherishing my children, that came from my own mother.
Right. Now, you say you were a punk. I don't envision you as anything else but the girl in the front of the classroom that always brought a pencil and paper and
I had many felonies by the time I was 14. Okay. Like I was awful. I was the only child my dad ever swore at.
Okay.
I was bad.
All right. Well, I'm checking that box right now.
You got to get that image out.
The mother and child, and I want to get into fathers too, but the mother and child relationship is different when you're a baby, obviously, and then
Sure.
you mature into an elementary and junior high school student, and your punk years by the time you're 14, that relationship changes. As we age and our parents age, how does that transition happen? That where all of a sudden, and for many of us, we become the parent.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And when we look at the lifespan of parenting, those roles are continuously changing. So the more flexible and less rigid you can be, the rules for having a toddler versus a teenager versus an adult child, and then that transition of when you're the adult child looking out for your parents, the more flexible and the less rigid of a narrative you have, the better you're going to be able to show up for all of those changes. And we all have strengths. My kid's father was wonderful when they were tinier. Mm-hmm. As teenagers, we kind of switched roles. I had an easier time with a lot of those transitions. So I think we bring different strengths, and that's the benefit of having multiple caregivers. Right. But that transition can happen gracefully or not gracefully. It will happen. Right. I have a funny story. I flew in from into Long Beach on Wednesday and decided to go out on a boat. And so really late at night, I get these panicked messages from my oldest daughter. She's 28. And she's like, "Mom, your location shows you in the middle of the ocean. Are you dead? Are you okay? You should have been home." And I was like, "What is happening?" And so, part of me wanted to be like, let you be the kid and I'll be the adult. And then I was like, oh, it's happening. Like, she's starting that transition into where, like, is my mom okay? Is she alive? What is she doing?
I love the fact you're sharing location to begin with.
Well, she gets mad at me that I never look at hers, but I parent 1980s style where if there's an issue, I'll look, but for the most part, I'll just ask you. Right. And it's so funny that she checks in to make sure that I'm okay. And I think that that's probably also a more normal thing for kids to do now. My parents don't have their location sharing with me, but I had to totally crack up, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm on a boat and I'm having a lot of fun. And she's like, oh, good. But I was just, what is going on now? And there is that shift that happens where eventually, you are more concerned about your parents' well-being. Have they fallen? Are they getting their vitamins? All of those things eventually become part of the reality.
Right. I got my hip replaced because really my daughter would not leave it alone.
Right. So that's a good thing.
It
Cheers
is a
to
good
her.
thing.
You look great. You're moving amazing.
Thank you very much. I'll be dancing soon. I'll be on the dance floor soon. Yeah. But so I felt the pressure of my daughter going, you know what, it's time, and it is time. And and then finally we give in to that. She's right. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So a parent that is, I grew up with super responsible parents. They held multiple jobs each just to get us out of the ghetto in New York, in the Bronx, and eventually that never changed. Their responsibility to the family never changed. I have friends whose parents were less than that, whose parents were irresponsible, as not just financially, but in other ways with their kids. Mm-hmm. And now that those kids are adults, I see that lack of parental responsibility taking hold in their adult life.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Are we destined to grow into our parents' personality types?
I don't think destined's the word that I would choose, but that is our default. And so in many ways, that's what we're headed towards unless we make a conscious choice to do otherwise. And there's lots of resources and reasons that if you grew up with parents that didn't show up for you, that you learn how to show up for yourself and show up for others. We've talked about this before. I think one of our primary responsibilities as a human is to heal the wounds that we have so that we don't pass them forward. And that can be so much so from our parents, but it can also just be from being born a man or a woman or one color of skin over the other. So, those wounds that we have will keep showing up until we address them. And if we choose not to, then we'll repeat.
Right. You mentioned that your daughter was scoping your location and you were in the middle of the ocean. Do you, any one of your kids, do you see you in them?
Oh, in so many ways. But I would have to say my kids are so much more phenomenal than I could even hope or dream of being. They're my heroes. With Molly, my oldest, the one that was checking my location, I had her very young. I was a teen mom, and I think I over-parented, over-adulted. I really wanted to make sure that, I was the mother, she was the child. And I, so much so, my master's, I have one in parenting. I wanted to make sure I didn't screw this up. And so when she does stuff like that, I'm like, did I fail? Is she feeling the responsibility of being an adult? But in so many ways, she's just deeply concerned and connected for the well-being of everyone around her. And that extends to me. So my first thought was like, oh, I failed. And then I was like, no, actually, this is just who she is. And there's so much of me in that too. So I do see that for sure.
Take us, if you would, and I'm gonna ask you to kind of put yourself in a position 30 years down the road. Okay, and that's a long ways away. I get it. But I mentioned earlier my daughter was kind of the convincing factor of the hip surgery, which is fine, and I get that whole taking over almost the parental responsibility. I am mortified that 30 years from now I would be dependent on her.
I think that that's a really common feeling that people have. And the way that I look at it is I know my parents have that same concern, and it is such an honor and a gift to be able to show up for them. And it breaks my heart that they would think of it the same way that you just phrased it.
Right.
Because what an honor to let your child love you in that way,
right.
To give them that opportunity to grow and to shine and to show up. And why would you want to take that away? Why would you not want that for them? I can't think of anything more wonderful than to go through all of those transitions with grace and to say, it's your turn to shine and I will let you. Why would you deny her that love?
I think for me, I can give you kind of the reason. I just feel so independent. I've always been independent. As a child, I was incredibly independent, even though I was the youngest of four, and babied by my mom, over-babied by my mom. But as an adult, I am so independent, I could not imagine
being dependent.
Losing that.
So I think that's part of our ego.
Okay, thank you.
And I do think that our bodies teach us about love in ways that we wouldn't be willing to learn otherwise. And so when you are injured or you are sick, of course, if you're really independent, you don't want somebody to take care of you. But you learn to love yourself in those situations too, that you're valuable not just because you're independent, that your worth far exceeds that independence that you depend on as part of your personality.
You're really good at this. And the listeners on the text connector are agreeing right now. So is it different with fathers?
So I actually did my master's thesis on differential and combined attachment to mothers and fathers, because at the time there wasn't a lot of research specifically about fathers. It was a lot about mothers. And now, this was a lot of years ago, 25, 30 years ago. So we even have a lot more looking at like other caregiver roles, which is fantastic because there are so many grandparents or aunts or uncles that are really stepping up. So we tend to parent differently. If you think about, if a kid falls down and scrapes their knee, most often they're going to go to the mom. That's the nurturing. If they want to play and throw a ball, they go to their dad. Those stereotypes exist for a reason. They're reinforced by our cultural narrative. That doesn't mean that that's how it is in every household, every family. But we do see that dads tend to be more playful. They're the ones that are tossing the kids up in the air. Moms tend to be more nurturing in that safe base. That doesn't have to be that way, especially in families where there's two moms or two dads or one and no one else. And I think the reason why I actually studied that, it's not a mystery. I was a single parent. I wanted to know, like, what is my kid missing from not having a father?
Wait a minute, there's no research on that.
Right. So I was like, okay. And, the really great thing that I took away from that research that's been reiterated by so many people since then is that as long as you have one really strong connection, whether it's a mother, a father, a neighbor, a grandpa, then you tend to do really well. That accounts for most of the variation in socio and emotional well-being. Everything else on that is just icing on the cake. And I think of it as I parent one way, I bring certain strengths. It really does take a team. I was very fortunate with my daughter. I have siblings I'm really close to that are brothers, and my dad, they showed up in amazing ways. And they did things differently. So when I would go to school and leave my daughter with my brother, I would come home and they would have built the most dangerous looking raft creation out the second story window and be having a picnic. I would never do something like that. But she learned things from them that she wouldn't learn from me. So I think it's just about having more love, and you can never have too much love. Right. And so each one of those people brings something else to the relationship, to the growth. So, yeah. So mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, 2 dads, 2 moms. Right. Each person is just going to bring something slightly different.
Beautifully stated. Beautifully stated. And I want to transition, if I may, here.
Sure.
Into children that are transitioning. And the attention paid to them by their parents. It's different for a mother than father. For instance, to adopt the permanently outward or physical characteristics that match one's gender.
Okay, so we're talking gender transition.
I'm talking gender transition and identity for kids now.
Yeah, sure.
As opposed to the associated sex that was registered at birth. We know what the description, what the definition of it is.
Right. Sex and gender are very different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The nuclear family, the mother, the father, the child. Mm-hmm. Is there any research done on the difference of acceptance or behaviors of the parents toward this child?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know any off the top of the hand. Top of the hand. Where did that come from? From the top of my hand. I don't know. I did not write that one down. No. So I think that what is interesting is we usually see that it's similar between the parents. And so if you think about it, if 2 women get married, they have a kid, they're going to parent very similarly. If they're too different in their morals, their values, the way that they see living life, they're not going to really last. That relationship's not going to go forward. Right. And so we tend to parent very similarly. So we see that kids that transition tend to either have both parents on board or both parents that are not on board. But I haven't looked specifically at asking, do mothers or fathers have an easier time? It's fascinating to me that we are in this place where we're having these conversations. It feels like, a lot of years ago when we were barely starting to talk about being, gay. Right. And now we're finally talking about gender. And I really think that if we, as parents or just humans, see each other as people, then all of that becomes so secondary, unless it's particularly relevant. Right. Sometimes I'll see somebody and I'll be like, I wonder if they're a man or a woman. And then I'll be like, well, I'm not trying to mate with them. What business is it of mine? Right. And I hurry and quickly check myself because it really doesn't matter. They're a person. And that's all I need to know to give them love. And with my children, it's the same way. They are who they are regardless of that outside appearance. And so I think I'm really lucky in that way that I have that framework, but there are parents that grieve the loss of a son or a daughter or whatever it is versus just a celebration of my kid gets to be more authentically themselves.
I pulled that question off the Text Connect from a family that listens to the radio station from Florida, and the husband sees it differently than the mom. Okay. The dad sees it differently than the mom,
really hard.
And that's why she
asked. And how you navigate that when you look at any kind of transition or change, there can be grief and there can be celebration, and they can be happening at the same time. I think the big thing is that you hold space for people processing it differently. Of course, your partner's not going to do it exactly the same way. And how do you love each other through that and support each other through that? And that's big too, because if you have a kid that's transitioning, they need everyone. And this isn't a time for a total family breakdown.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm lucky. I have a child that transitioned pretty early on.
Okay.
And it wasn't really all that shocking, but it was still challenging navigating things that maybe we don't think that we're going to have to as a parent.
Right.
And I was thinking about that actually on the drive here. What a gift it is that we have kids that we don't expect, you know,
right.
like if we were given a menu with check sheets of what do you want your kid to be, most people would be like, I want the captain of the football team and the, you know,
and the cheerleader or whatever. Right. Yeah.
But how beautiful is it that we're not given that we're given these humans that challenge us and that we get to grow as much as they're growing if we allow ourselves to. And so, you know, that's just a huge growth opportunity to really dive deep and say, beyond gender, what really makes us lovable, what makes us worthy. And it's pretty basic when you get down to it. It's just stripping away all those layers that we've been taught. So.
How perfectly stated. Thank you for that. And it fishtails perfectly into my next question. Last Friday, I had the author of the book Eros on. Eros is a children's book about autism and accepting differences, basically.
Beautiful.
The child's name is Eros.
I love that.
I do too. Yeah. The author has two children, both sons that are autistic. One is autistic savant. The other just on the autistic spectrum. And I don't want to say just on, but the other is autistic just on the spectrum. What separates that? What is the difference there?
So, I mean, you use the word spectrum, and that's a good way to look at it. I don't like using the word high functioning or low functioning. I think that, you know,
it cheats
it's
the human.
Right,
it
totally
cheats the human. It really does.
But there are different abilities, and when we look at, you know, neurodivergent versus neurotypical, there's ways that our society is structured, and if you fit easily into that storyline, then good for you. You might not ever even be aware of all the variability that's out there. So it's like a fish in water. They don't know they're in water. If you are neurotypical, cisgender, meaning your sex goes with your gender, all of those things, then you might not actually really see the differences that are out there. But with having neurodivergent or being autistic, there's just different places that you fit in the world. And I think that as humans, that's one of our major goals is, where do I belong? Where do I shine? And sometimes with autism, like you said, the savant, it's so obvious where they belong that it's kind of a gift. That's another one on my parenting check sheet. I have an autistic child that has taught me so much, you know, because I had to sit down with him and say, when we're having conversations, it's important to look people in the eyes, and here's why. And the whys that I never had thought about, that I'd never really considered. All of a sudden I had to peel back that cultural and that structural layer and go, okay, why do we do these things, and how do I explain it and make it so that, you know, it's something that makes it so this kid can have a wonderful life, and he has. I mean, he's taught me so much.
And that's my next question. What if you, and I don't, not every single thing that he's taught you, but what stands out that you learned that you would have never gotten without him?
I'm gonna cry, Ed. So many things.
Sorry. Kleenex right there. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, he's just, I have the coolest kids. I'm biased entirely. Just authenticity, and really to not give a shit. You know, like, that's a big one, to just be able to say, I'm going to be me. And that's exactly what he's taught me, is that courage. I mean, it takes so much courage, and he just has it naturally in spades. So to be able to have that kind of authenticity and love, and he's so tender, and really there's no defenses about this kid. He was sort of hard to parent because I would say things like, you know, you really screwed up, and he'd be like, yeah, I know, I'm really sorry. And I'd be like, wait, what? Well, I guess we're on the same page now. Don't do that again. But, you know, I just, what a gift. And I remember early on just thinking that this isn't something that I wanted. And I hate to say that, but that was true.
Right.
You know, it's just, here's another challenge. And how wonderful I didn't get it my way. You know, to have this human come into my life and crack me open in ways that I would have never known that I needed to be more loving and to be more accepting. And I look at people now and just see them in such a more compassionate and loving way. And there's, you know, part of it is there's a lot of judgment. If you have a child that has autism, they might look completely normal. I remember being at a restaurant and he had his earphones on and he was looking at a screen because he had stimulation issues, and it was such a huge deal for him to go in a restaurant. It was really hard that he could narrow in and listen to music, and he could make it through dinner. And I remember one person that I didn't even know coming up to me and saying, well, we make it a priority to share time as a family. Why even go to a restaurant if they're just going to be on a screen?
Oh my God.
And I just remember being like, huh.
What the F is wrong with you?
Well,
right.
But also, like, I wonder how many times I've had those judgments
Right.
and not known anything about anything. Right? Like, and so now I look at a situation and I can bring that compassion and notice where my judgments are and kind of put them in place. I think we're all doing the best that we can. And when people have autism, there is something that's very authentic that we can learn from them, that we can embrace in ourselves, and to let go of that who cares. You know, we really are just on this amazing journey helping each other.
I am as confrontational as you will get, and I would find myself confronting that person that came to the table in a very harsh manner, in one of those mind your own goddamn business type of deals.
I think that that's not my style.
I know it's not your style.
I just was like, well, we're having a good dinner. Or I probably said something dumb. I don't even know, but I'm absolutely not confrontational, and I do love going places with my kids, because I think that one of the things they've all learned from each other too is just how to show up and be the best versions of themselves, and they're so different from each other. I love walking down the street and just observing people noticing our group, because it is a little unruly looking, and I love that.
One of the things, and I'll tail this next question off of what you just said about one of the things that you learned from him, was just not giving a shit. Just do what you want, you know. Yeah. And you have recently, if I can let the audience know, you've recently signed on for to become a professor in Colorado at a university.
Yes.
And I know you're going to do fantastically. I know you're going to do wonderfully. But if between now and day one, you find that you've discovered something else that you want to do?
I feel like this is a leading question. So something you know that not everyone knows. Okay. I accepted the position, and then I got asked by the most amazing drag queens to do Aerial Silk's burlesque style. Right. Which before my kids, I would have never done. Right. I think I would have been too shy. I would have had way too many narratives around it. I mean, I grew up Mormon in Utah, and now I'm literally hanging from the ceiling in my underwear with drag queens. And it's at 237 Ocean here in Laguna Beach on Wednesday nights. It's amazing. I'm really struggling with going to Colorado to be a professor now that this is in my life, because it's so amazingly fun and filled with joy. And I send the videos to my parents, and they're like, we're so proud of you. And I'm like, what dimension did I enter? But it's just such a gift. It's so fun to be able to do dance and music and see people engage and have fun. Right.
And even if it's not dance or music, but for others out there that do what, like me, to do what you love to do, there's no greater feeling.
There really isn't.
And there's no more, there's no bigger prison than day-to-day doing something you don't love, something you hate, even
or,
some,
or even just, I mean, in the case of me, I think I suppressed my wild. Like I remember when I learned to meditate in my 20s,
Right.
and I went to this university. I learned meditation. I did 10 days silent meditation. I did all these things, and I came out of it and I was like, dang it, I'm still wild. Like, why? Like, I thought I would be turned into like this putty version of Buddha.
Right.
And I wasn't. I was like, I still want to do aerial silks and,
Right.
hang from the rafters. And I think it really took my kids to show me that it's okay, that that's just a part of me. And that's not something that I do have to bury down. And I can be a professor and an aerial silks dancer,
Yes.
and a mother, and all of these things.
And a racer on the ocean. And
Yes, those things
you're
too.
many things that we wouldn't expect.
Right. And I think I tried to simplify it down to I am going to be a marshmallow version of, and it's not me. And so I do feel that part of that courage comes from wanting my own kids to live their dreams.
Right.
And I have to be an example. So yeah.
I love hearing that. Continue. Please
thank
continue.
you. Thank
Please continue. Can I turn the page and talk about addiction for a second?
Absolutely. We're jumping all over the place.
We are.
Let's do it.
We're going
Yeah.
here and there. And I tell you, again, when I mentioned that you were going to be here Monday, the Text Connect would not stop. And I'm like, I was gratified, A, that they're so involved and so into it, and B, that you were just willing to answer any question about anything.
We can do the junk drawer interview at any time.
I
Let's
love
do
that.
this.
Addiction, is it in our DNA, or is it just a chance thing?
There are genetic components to addiction, and there tends to be people that actually get clusters. So it's not just I'm an alcoholic, but also I have gambling and I have, so it can cluster together. There's different traits that we know that show up for sure. It can also be learned as well. So
is it different? Is being a sex addict different than a heroin addict or someone addicted to gambling? Is there a different component that makes one a sex addict to one that makes a heroin addict?
I think that there's different judgments around both of those for sure. But as far as internally, when we look at any kind of addiction, we've got to look at why they exist in the first place. And so not just like, is it nature, nurture, DNA, not DNA, but what is it about our society, our connections, our relationship with ourselves and others that make that the better option and the coping option, or something that we're drawn to. And so, it might be heroin for one, it might be sex addiction for another. It might just be what was available. Right. Not everyone has access to heroin. So, that's a thing too. You might go for alcohol. It's a little easier.
Well put.
But yeah, that same driving force, that disconnect is probably present in all of those mediums.
And when you talk about alcohol and alcoholism in particular here, I had a stepfather who, long before he came into our lives, had stopped abusing alcohol. He was an alcoholic. And he substituted that the drinking with cigarettes.
Okay.
So
swapped him out.
Right, swapped him out. And you see at a lot of the meetings that alcoholics go to, the AA meetings, you see them in the breaks standing outside smoking. Not a healthy swap out, right?
Might be more functional, might be a little more healthy for relationships.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do all addicts need to be addicted to something down in their lives? Is there never really a cure for the problem itself, the addictions itself?
I would say, Ed, we're probably all addicted to different things. Right. Like you could even say exercise is an addiction, or volunteering is an addiction, or we do these things because we're trying to balance out our life in some way. And some of us have healthier, more socially accepted addictions than others. But when we look at, the trading out cigarettes for alcohol, it might be something that's very chemical, biological, that was never medicated, never treated, never balanced out. There's so many different reasons why we would have those coping mechanisms or those ways to survive. And I think that's where the compassionate piece comes in, where it's this person is surviving something that we don't really know a lot about.
Right.
And so how could we not say, thank you for smoking and sticking around and choosing that over alcohol?
Right.
Yeah, we could have judgment and be like, you shouldn't smoke, but that's not really looking at the whole thing.
Right.
And these things never happen in a vacuum. I feel like we have this cultural narrative of really blaming addicts, and they already have enough shame and guilt typically.
Right.
Why wouldn't we show up with love and compassion and realize that this addict doesn't exist solo, that somewhere in their life there was trauma, or they were let down, or they were isolated, and we all have those to some degree. So
right.
How come we can't see that taken to a larger level of this person's really just doing the best that they can? And addictions don't happen just all by themselves. They didn't wake up one day and go, wow, I really think heroin sounds like a great idea.
Right. Okay. No, beautifully stated. Thank you for that. I'm going to turn the page yet again.
Okay.
I want to talk about happiness.
Oh, good. Okay. Something that I really enjoy talking about. Thank you, Ed.
When you ask someone, if it's a stranger working the checkout counter at the grocery store, how you doing? And the answer just to get you through the line is, I'm doing great.
Uh-huh.
Whatever. They rarely go into, well, I've got problems or anything.
Right.
Can true happiness be faked? Can you fake being happy and convince yourself that you're happy?
I feel like that's a dangerous question because we don't want to sugarcoat challenging emotions.
Right.
We don't want to say, oh, everything's fine, right? When it's not.
Right.
But there are different things that we can do to, in a way, fake it until we make it. So even the way that we hold our body can change the chemicals in ourselves to be more happy. So we've talked about different experiences in the past, or experiments. If I take the pin that's right there on the table and I bite it, mm-hmm. and you ask me how happy I am before, and then 5 minutes after I've held it in my teeth, I'm going to go down in happiness. If you have me hold it between my nose and my upper lip so that my face is forced into a smile, I'm going to actually rate that I'm happier. So there are things that we can do to help promote it, but you have to be close. Like, I can't be in the middle of the worst argument with my partner and be so distraught and put a pin in my mouth and smile and be like, now everything's fine. Like, you actually have to be close enough that smiling boosts you enough, right? So I think that there are definitely practices that we can do that will help us be happy that maybe feel fake in the beginning. Even something like keeping a gratitude journal can feel fake in the beginning, but it will point us in that direction.
Right. And staying on that point, can you spot an unhappy person?
I think we feel it, don't you think?
Yeah. I
Sometimes it resonates with us if we're unhappy. We're like, oh, you're the other one in the room. We're both in a bad way right now. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are different things, and even looking at people's body language. I mean, I have yet to see somebody skipping that's like angry or sad. Like if you look at a kid and they're skipping, you're like, oh, that's a happy human right there. So I think there are definitely things. If it feels like depression, that you're sad when they leave, probably that's them rubbing off on you a little. If it feels joyful and happiness, then it's contagious. We share that with each other. So we can usually tell a little bit anyway. Right.
And the exercises to stay happy, or the exercises to remember what being happy was when you're in a challenging moment, they actually do work.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are so cheesy that like I have to add swear words in there so it's not so cheesy when I'm doing them myself. but yeah, when we focus on different parts of our lives, those things are going to grow. They're going to get more attention. It's just like if I say, I'd notice all the yellow cars for the next 24 hours. All of a sudden, you're going to see them everywhere. But if I say, I want you to each day write down 2 things that you're grateful for and 2 contributions you made to this world, you're going to look for those. You're going to make those a priority. You're going to see those more throughout your day.
Does a narcissist feel happiness when they make other people miserable?
I imagine there are some out there that do. But there's also the part of narcissism that they want to be liked, so they might feel happy when other people are happy. The authenticity piece is maybe what's more to question. But,
okay.
But yeah.
All right.
I love your questions, Ed. They're so great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate, and I appreciate you so very much. What are your plans here for the next month until I hopefully have you in the chair again? We can catch you at 237 Forest, hanging from the ceiling like no one has ever seen before. If you've never seen this, what would they be missing?
Okay, so 237 Ocean.
I'm sorry, 230.
You're totally great. Around 8 o'clock, but it kind of goes on gay time, so more like 8:30. So it's a hoot. And my part is I come out and do the aerial silks. I'm the only one currently doing that right now. The owner was fantastic. He said, I want you to come in here and do aerial. And I said, I don't think you understand what this requires. You have to put metal through the top of your roof and anchor it with an engineer, because my brain is my moneymaker at this point. And it has to be able to hold, a few thousand pounds, because I do drops and I do lots of spinny, splitty, fun things up in the air. And it's just so great.
It's a Cirque du Soleil experience. It really is. And
very small scale. It's very small. Just me. and then obviously the queens, which they're so fun and so engaging. And I feel like it's just such a gift to get to see our humanity in that way.
Right.
So.
And as someone who knows you a little bit, and I wonder if Cirque du Soleil approached you, hey, we need an acrobat, that you would put so much effort into making yourself the best performer. Would you ever consider that?
I'm so glad that I didn't know about it in my 20s. I probably would have gone a very different direction. But I think for me, I find so much of my meaning and purpose in the educational realm and the teaching and learning realm, that I really need both in my life. And Cirque du Soleil is a 24/7 commitment, whereas this one I get to come in. It's amazing. I am a little worried about going back to being a full-time professor, that I'm going to lose my six-pack, but it's okay. Like, there's worse things that have happened. But I really love that I get to do both, and it would be hard to choose to do just one.
Right. And I got to tell you that, forgive me for saying it, but your calling in life is to educate. It really is. You. And those kids, those college students will be the absolute beneficiaries of your wisdom and your love.
Oh, thank you so much, Ed. That means the world.
Thank you so much. Professor Melissa Harris, thank you always for being here, and I look forward to our next conversation.
I look forward to it as well.
All right, 11:42 the time, 18 minutes shy of the noon hour.
From Laguna Beach to Miami Beach to the Jersey Shore, the best radio on earth is Voice of Laguna Radio.